You sick bastards. You sick bastards. You sick bastards. Um, the topic of this thing is supposed to be, right, loosely, uh, F cancel culture, fuck cancel culture, and nothing is inappropriate to talk about, right? When we're talking about speech, I'm just talking about words, speech, talking, speech, sharing your opinion, talking about whatever maybe more risque subjects or maybe even taboo subjects or making a more risque type joke, right? That stuff, but maybe you might think my thinking is dumb or incorrect, but to me, nothing is really inappropriate to talk about, words. But yeah, uh, yeah, and if most guys are honest, like brutal, just be just straight up honest, like really in their heart and soul and their mind, most guys don't even feel that anything is inappropriate to talk about, right? It's just that we've been, brainwashed and all this societal pressure and brainwashing from all over the place, from society and the media and everything in general, right? So those guys that go along with it, that like is annoying, right? Like it's annoying, right? Uh, yeah, that shit is annoying because it's like, come on, if most guys are honest, nothing's inappropriate to them to talk about or joke about, right? But supposedly we have freedom, right? Freedom of speech and freedom. Even if you don't believe in God, given freedom of speech, we have like the Constitution, right? But the idea that people will want to ruin your life, or some people get psychotic with it, like the psychotic. Um, but basically, this is mostly about how guys that go along with it, and guys that go along with that whole like inappropriate mindset, like it's inappropriate. Like, like those guys like make me sick, right? Fucking make me sick. To quote the great late Patrice O'Neill, inappropriate is such a vaginal word. And we basically think, oh, these type of guys are like, man, make us sick, right? Because it's like everybody has different styles, right? Like those guys, hold on. There's room for everything. There's room for everything in the world, right? And everyone has different styles, right? And let me begin by saying I love nerds. I have and have always had friends that were quote unquote nerds, and I have and have always had friends that are, LGBTs, and I love and accept everybody, right? I've always been that way, and I still am. So I shouldn't even have to explain myself, right? But guys that go along with that is usually more on the nerdy side, right? More on the nerd. Like their style is just to make corny ass small talk, right? To make corny small talk, infinite small talk with a girl for like a year and a half, maybe even 2, 3, 5 years before they even get to hold hands, right? Before they even and sometimes not even then, right? Sometimes they still don't get anything, right? Sometimes, well, that's their style, right? Which is fine, right? Everybody has a different style. Their style is to make corny small talk with a girl, infinite corny small talk, infinite corny boring small talk, for a year and a half, 2, 3, maybe even 5 years before they even get to hold hands. Small talk bullshit. Buy her stuff, more infinite small talk, corny shit, more buying her shit, and then maybe something will happen, right? Maybe something will go down, or maybe maybe not even then, right? But maybe let's say they hold hands, right? After all that shit, right? All that time, effort, energy, and resources and everything. That's their style, right? That which is fine because everyone has different styles. But someone like me, who's used to having chicks be into him, right? Like he's not to sound arrogant, but someone who's used to having chicks be into him. Someone like me, who's moi, who's used to having chicks be into him and just girls be into him and like him, and without even really trying, and not even just me. There's a bunch of other guys like that, right? Like that are just used to girls being into them and all over them, and they don't even really have to try hard or do anything, and girls are just super into them. I'm not saying always, that's not always my case, but a lot of the time in my life I've experienced that, right? Like chicks, just a bunch of chicks into me, and I'm not even trying hard or doing much, right? Someone like us, right? Those type of guys, not just me. There's a bunch of guys in the world like that, right? That like that, right? Just have it like that, right? Just have it like that, right? It sounds arrogant as fuck, but and those of us that have actually been with pretty girls, have actually been with pretty girls, a few of my exes were like really pretty girls, right? Like eights, like eights on a scale of 1 to 10, right? Those of us that are used to this type of thing, right? That's not our style. Our style is not the fucking make corny small talk for like 5 years before you even get to hold hands, and in that 5 years you're buying her shit and sucking ass, not literally, of course, but you're and then you just hope that maybe one day, right? That's not our style, right? Guys like us that are used to chicks being into them and that have actually been with pretty girls, this might sound this might sound fucked up, but it's the truth, right? We have a different style. It's fine, right? Like, whatever. Everyone should be free to practice their own style. We should be free to do our own thing in our way, right? Without people like being on this whole like, oh, that's inappropriate to talk about or joke about. Uh, you should fucking put all this small talk and energy and effort and years buy her a bunch of shit before you even get to hold hands or something. uh, yeah, we should be free to do our own style, right? But we have, typically, no offense, I love nerds. I have nerdy friends, and I've always had friends that are nerds and all types, right? They should not be going along with like, oh, this shit, like trying to fuck it up for the rest of us, right? The people that have a different style, trying to fuck it up for us and ruin it for us. But also, I'm a targeted individual, so I understand, right? I'm also a targeted individual, so sometimes conventional things don't apply to me, right? Where it's like I used to get so in like that's happened so many times that I've been like, is that gonna happen every time? Like somebody's always gonna fuck it up for me and ruin it, or if the girl is not a plant or an agent to begin with, they're gonna be co-opted into that gang stalking thing. So I was like, well, might as well get with the idea, right? Just sometimes I think like that, right? I'm like, I might as well get with the idea that whatever girl you meet is probably going to be a Freemason or in the gang stalking cult, the gang stalking thing, or in some weird cult, or if that's not a plant to begin with, she'll be co-opted and turned against, to go against or they have something on them, and so they forcefully have to go against, or they get rewarded for going against, right? Which is fine, right? Basically, I've come to terms with it, right? I'm like, I guess that's just how it is. Like, I might as well get with the idea that I'm probably gonna have to end up with a Freemason or someone that's in the gang stalking program, or some cult, some weird cult that's been formed against me, some weird egregore that's been formed against me and shit like this. You alright? Cause I met this girl one time and she had a really psyopy. She had a really psyopy. Like my first gut instinct and my first psychic vibe that I had, right, was like she seems really psyopy. Like there's something scary and dark in those eyes. It seems like I'm not fully buying into this front, because a lot of times what Freemasons do, they say, right, that Freemasons a lot of times they put on a cloak. They put on a cloak or a mask or a front of Christianity or philanthropy. They'll be attached to something philanthropic, or they'll have a cloak of Christianity on, which I never fully bought into, right? I was like, I'm not buying into this front really. There's something like dark, something more sinister going on, right? I was thinking like there's like a very Freemasony vibe, right, to it. But I was like, whatever, one of the first things she did was defend NASA and stuff like this. And I was like, okay, whatever, I can look past this, right? It is what it is. I have to get with the idea, right? It is what it, uh, yeah, so I'm a targeted individual, right? So, and one time, I forgot another piece about what was my closest male friend, what I considered, right? Uh, One time I was telling him like legit nice things about me, right? I was like, oh, I like helping old ladies and talking to them, and I attend a Christian church, a Christian online church, and stuff like this, and I love animals and stuff like this. And he was like, you should talk about all that stuff in front of everybody, like in front of everyone. You should talk about that. Because I was telling him like, man, I feel like I don't know why, without me doing anything to warrant it, without me doing anything to bring it on or warrant it, people people come with ideas about me already, like that I'm a piece of shit or a bad guy or something. And then he told me that, right? Like, you should do that, right? I'm like, but my dumb thinking at the time, maybe this was dumb thinking on my part, I, um, or I was being too defensive. I was like, oh, like, why should I have to talk about that stuff to prove that I'm a nice guy, right? Like nobody else has to do that, like some type of PR thing. But maybe I should have done it, right? Or should do it. But I'm like, nah, if I talk about it, they're still gonna be in some cult against me and shit like this, right? Uh, but the because that's legitimately a side to me, right? There's many different sides to me. There's many different layers to me. Most people, there's no layers to them. There's no other sides. They're just one thing, one layer of diarrhea. But there's many layers of diarrhea going on, right, with me, right? Uh, uh, what else? Uh, and for some reason, the AI algorithm will always fuck it up when I talk about certain topics, or maybe it just knows that I talk about certain topics already, and fucks it up, right? Like some of my favorite topics right now is targeted individ. I'm a targeted individual, right? Me. I like to talk about Freemasons. I find it shit interesting, right? Like super fascinating. Like I think that movie, The Truman Show, whoever wrote it, at the very least, did research into that topic. And that movie is about the main character. Everyone's a Freemason, and the main character is not, not in it. Um, and and I like to break into some spaces, fake shit, and we don't mean literally the space is fake. Freaking Mongolians, Mongolian. We mean that NASA themselves, in official NASA documents, it says that whenever you calculate anything to do with space travel or Earth, you must assume that the Earth is a flat, non-rotating planet. That's what it says in NASA official documents. You can look these up. You must assume that the Earth is a flat, non-rotating planet. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting, right? Why would NASA have that in their official documents? And even like Don Pettit, a NASA astronaut, admitted one time, he was like, oh, we destroyed the technology to travel to the moon, to space travel and go to the moon. We destroyed it, and we aren't able to do it anymore, and it's too hard to build it back. He admitted that, right? I'm like, wow, that's very convenient, right? And Buzz Aldrin himself, one of the first guys to land on the moon, allegedly, supposedly, right? He's had several slip-ups like that, right? But this really good one where he's being interviewed by like a little girl, and the little girl asks him, how come nobody has been to the moon in a long time, right? And Buzz Aldrin himself says, in the short version, he says, because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. That's what he said, literally, Buzz Aldrin. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened. And he's had a bunch of slip-ups like that, and people are saying he was drunk in the interview. And I'm like, that makes it more truthful and honest and from the heart and real, in my opinion, right? And Neil deGrasse Tyson admitting that, no, NASA admitting, I was watching this mainstream science channel one time, right? Let me clean this shit up. I'm cleaning this shit up. Yeah, I was watching this mainstream science channel one time, and the lady quoted NASA directly, right? She was like, NASA admits that no human being has ever left the Earth's atmosphere, right? And that NASA is redefining what space actually means. And they're like, NASA said space is actually this area up here underneath the Van Halen belt, underneath Earth's atmosphere, right? It's inside Earth's atmosphere, just right here inside, right? I'm like, wow, they're admitting that no human being has ever left the Earth's atmosphere. Hold on, I gotta pee. Hold on, I gotta pee really bad. Oh man. Mr. Bobby says Neil deGrasse Tyson. Mr. Bobby says just know he can't be trusted anymore. I mean, if honestly, I'm not even that mad about it. Like if he was to humbly apologize, I'd probably be like, okay, I accept it. Like, unlike him, I would actually accept it and be humble and shit, and be.